Hey everyone, welcome to My Final Play. We're here on location at the Williamsport Country Club in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Today we have special guest Chris Macdonald. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Brian, very much, yeah. Nice to see you.
So Chris is a PGA professional, and golf has always been one of those sports that I've enjoyed my entire career and my entire life. It always teaches you something, and we're going to learn here today from Chris as far as his background and then what the sport has taught him and continues to teach him. So with getting right into it, as far as your golf career, being a PGA professional, how did that start and what was the route that you took to get to where you are today?
Well, Brian, I've been a PGA professional now going on almost 23 years. So it started really as a passion as a kid. You know, golf is a game that, you know, hopefully you grow up playing with your parents or your grandparents or something. You're introduced by someone to the game. And I was at a young age by my father, probably 6 years old, out in the backyard swinging a golf club. And you know, so it grew from there. I was always athletic in other sports, played soccer, played hockey, played lacrosse. You know, sort of dabbled in a little bit of everything through the years. But golf was something that, again, was always time spent with my dad, and so from there I really saw his passion, and I found that helped me again to focus, because it's such an individual sport. You know, it's you against yourself. So
and definitely an appreciation to be able to spend that time with your dad as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was something, again, what his work was, and you know, spending time away from the family. When there was 2 hours we could go steal away together, that was perfect. So I took that and started to obviously play a little bit more competitively. Got myself into high school, playing on a high school team, and enjoyed that quite a bit. Again, being a game where you're playing against yourself, obviously you have the fellow competitors you're going against, but it's really you in the course. Right. So I was able to, you know, challenge myself, and you can set your own form of practice. You know, really. It's not like hey, we get to the field and we run laps, and then when we do drills, you know, you can make your practice fun. You can make your practice, you know, very regimented. So you know, I gave myself that opportunity to sort of enjoy it and explore and try to find my own way that worked for me. As I said, played all through high school, and then the interesting thing was, though, when I got to college, I focused on my college studies more. I gave up my competitive sports career at that period. That's one thing I look back now and say, you know, I maybe wish that I continued to do that. Had gone to a school out in Central Ohio, Denison University, and it was Division III. I did play. The interesting thing was, did not play on the team, but the course that was essentially tied in with the school, they had a great program for the students. And again, this was a game that I loved to play, but I realized that, you know, hey, right now I'm not going to focus on playing matches and competing against anyone, but I'm going to go out and just continue to enjoy the game. They had a nice package for the kids, the students there, where you could play for $100 a semester. All you wanted to play on the course. So I took advantage of that. I actually scheduled my courses so that I would have afternoons to go out to play. And again, it was something, again, where I just let myself, you know, enjoy it for myself, but also maintain the level of ability that I had. So as I said, I did know a lot of the guys who played on the team. I would go out and play with them. But again, I just decided, made the determination that I was going to stay, okay, focused on school and think about what my, you know, future career might be at that point in time.
Right. So definitely a unique approach to get to where you are. After college, what did that look like then, as far as taking the next steps to continue?
Well, I got out of school, as I said, and thought to myself, okay, what's in the future? What lies ahead? And thought about actually going to get a master's degree and possibly getting into teaching. And at that period, I was sort of on the fence as whether I was going to go back and spend more years in school. My parents thought the same thing, sort of, are we going to spend more money for more time in school? And I was looking for some work, just to, hey, pay the bills. You know, I had an apartment. I said, okay, what are we going to do? And there was a country club in my hometown that just so happened, I knew some people there, and they contacted me and said, hey, we actually need an assistant. One of the assistants who works in Texas in the wintertime and comes up north to Pennsylvania in the summertime had to go back to his club in Texas. Again, these people knew because I'd continued to play, played with a lot of people in the area, and it's different clubs. I thought, well, let's give it a shot. You know, this is something, again, I love the game, and I'll see what this can do for me. And so took the job as a second assistant at the country club in our hometown, and after a month involved, I realized, not only from the playing aspect, I realized what the job and the career aspect could be. And that would be, again, my ability to teach the game to individuals not only young, but old. It was a total cross-section. They came to you for their want of learning this game, enjoying this game, and getting better.
Right.
And so I could take the knowledge and the practice and the skills that I had learned all through my life and pass that on to them. And I thought, well, wait a minute, here's something that I could possibly do. Rather than teaching kids how to form sentences, I'm going to teach people how to play the game of golf.
So definitely two passions there as far as teaching and the game.
Absolutely.
Combined. Yeah. So as far as attaining the status of the PGA professional, what did that route look like? After
my second year at the first club that I worked at, I realized, okay, I'm gonna make the commitment. So the PGA has a process for those that are interested, in which you have to basically have an internship. You contact the PGA, say that, okay, I'm going to make this a career. You would then have to work under a Class A PGA professional for 6 months before you could even get into the program.
Okay.
To prove, obviously, that you've got the dedication. Obviously spoke with the head professional that I worked under. He said he'd be glad to do that for me. So I went through that probationary period of 6 months. At that point, then I entered into what was called the Golf Professional Training Program, and it's essentially a business school. It's a 3-level business school for the PGA, and you learn every aspect of the game, not only from playing, but to the business of it, to the total operations for a facility, and so that got me through the first club I was at, and then I went and moved on as the first assistant at another club called Lower Valley Golf Club. And at that time, I was juggling, obviously working as an assistant of the club, going through the training program in which we would travel all over the country to do your testing and to get out of each level, and also then still trying to play and compete a little bit and playing competitions. So there's a lot you learn as far as time management and juggling what you need to do to focus. So.
And so how does that time management between competition as well as running the business side of it play into what it is that you're doing right now?
Well, I as I said, had worked at the first club, then moved on, and then was married, moved into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and worked for 5 years as first assistant at the third club, at South Hills Country Club. And that's where I started to get the opportunity again to play a little bit more. And compete some, but I still had that need to obviously focus on my job, what was required at the club. But what you find is a good balance of, again, and it works back towards in your play and practice, is what your time allocation is, how you dedicate yourself towards each facet.
Right.
Some things come more naturally. Hey, I'm a much better putter than I would be chipping the ball, a short game. So I find that there are things where I don't have to necessarily keep that same focus as I would, on the areas, again, putting's easy. Me greeting people here and getting them through processing, a tournament, that comes naturally. But that short game of chipping, that might be something a little more difficult that we're dealing with. Okay, merchandise maintenance and inventory counts, whatnot, things like that.
Right. So a little bit of business, a little bit of chipping.
Yeah, exactly.
So throughout your career, as far as the competitions that you've played in, as well as the ones that you're going to play in the future, of those, can you think of any crucial moments that really had an impact on you as far as your character and how that built in from the game to your character that you have today?
Sure. Well, again, as I said, golf is a game where you're, it's you against the golf course, and it's you against yourself. And I have had myself in certain competitions where, again, you'll have something that's just not working that day.
Right. And
you have to try to find that resolve and find your ability to work your way through that. Now, again, there have been successes and there have definitely been failures. I found that with every bad score, it says to me, okay, now I've got to get myself, again, as I said, what's that area of focus that I need to work on? What got me to the point where obviously, what was that roadblock that, you know, and a lot of it would come down to a matter of me just saying, okay, I've got the dedication that I can set myself into working on this, you know, one portion of my game, and that would be the time spent, you know, as far as getting that driver, that situation fixed, to where I can then move into the next tournament and say, okay, this isn't going to be a thought in my mind.
Right.
I can walk through that and then get to the, you know,
always a fresh start to that next competition.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, again, those setbacks, and that's something that, you know, I've found it builds a character to get you, again, to find how can you practice, how can you make yourself a little bit better in areas, or how can you get yourself to maybe perhaps find a different way to get yourself out of those situations. And that ties in just the same with the job here that I'm doing, working with different individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely plays a big role to have those things joined together. So, as far as you know, obviously the sport itself is one that you can play at any age. Typically, you know, if you could go back to a younger you, that you could give yourself some advice about the game, just about life that you've learned through the sport, what advice would that look like, or what would that advice look like to kind of help you for where you're at today?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I would say main thing is to not let yourself focus sometimes on exact details too much. You know, they'll say a lot, and definitely in golf, in any sport, you want to at times give yourself up to what you're doing, let things come a little more naturally.
Right.
And so I have learned through, again, a lot of competitions at times in events that I play in, you know, I'll start to let myself get too focused on that one issue or that one problem, that part of my game that I'm having difficulty with. And so I found I just, you know, say to myself, you've got to actually, you know, let yourself relax, let that portion, you know, go, focus again on those parts of the game that are working a little bit better. Main thing is, though, is to not put yourself into that, you know, sort of single lane where you get stuck on that. With this game, obviously, there's a lot of different facets where you've got to let yourself, again, give yourself up to just feeling the swing, you know, playing a little more naturally,
right.
Not getting so mechanical. That's a big thing for me, where I would say, you know, let yourself feel the game more than you would necessarily be too cognitive of every issue, because when you let yourself focus too much on that, that's when you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Right. Definitely a big picture game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can play into, you know, the big picture of life. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, it's you've got to let yourself enjoy the fact that you're out playing this game. I mean, that's essentially it too. A lot of times I let myself get too wrapped up on, you know, what the fellow that I'm playing with is going to be thinking about, when really what I should just be worried about, am I enjoying myself? Right. You know, am I letting myself play this game to the fullest ability without letting myself get too wrapped up again on that fact of, okay, you know, here's another bad score, here's another, you know, competition where I was hoping I'd finish a little bit higher in the rankings, but you learn to build from that, where you say, okay, next time, you know, let myself, again, open up a little bit more, not let myself worry too much about those scores that are, you know, bad, because you're going to have a bad score. You're going to obviously come back that next tournament and say to yourself, okay, what can we do to get myself in a little better position? And it's just been, it's a game that, again, as we said, through life, where you're going to play, is, you know, you have this whole life to play this, you know, this game, right. And you've got obviously good rounds and bad rounds that are going to come, and you know, you just let yourself keep, you know, moving forward and play that next round. So. Right.
So I mean, even though it's definitely unique in the sport in general, that, you know, my final play has not exactly expired or exactly happened yet, but it's definitely a game that continues to teach you. So.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. You know, with this game, it's great. You won't have, you know, you have the opportunity to play this as long as your health allows you to. Right. And that's the one thing. Or though you can also say, as long as your mental capacity will allow you to, because there have been plenty of players who've gone out and you've seen, you know, on the tour, they'll talk about that, you know, for some reason all of a sudden they lose it, you know, right. It goes, and that's a portion of it where you have to, again, as I say, you know, you're here, you're playing this game to enjoy, and, you know, I'm not going to allow myself to get, you know, being a career that I've made, this portion of my career with the game is, again, just one facet where it's not my sole purpose. My, again, being involved here as a PGA professional at the country club, there's a lot more that I can take as far as enjoyment and satisfaction that I've passed this game on to, all my members to come into the shop. So.
And I'm sure that they definitely appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
So, well, I definitely appreciate the time.
Sure thing.
And guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the content as well. It's definitely a game that can teach you many things and continue to teach you. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe below. And remember, whatever it is that you do today, approach it with the mindset of, is this my final play? Thanks a lot.